that there is no choice. It just is. And that's the change that you might be going through, sweet souls. Hey there, sweet souls. How are you? It's your Force Fairy here. Nice to see you again. Welcome in and welcome back to the 100 Acre Woods, where I read cards out here. So let's read some cards for you, sweet souls. We are doing another galactic read. I end my week with the galactic messages. I don't know if I should start the week and sort of set the tone with the other reads, but this will be the third one where I lay out a 6-card spread, taking a look at the current situation, the ideal, what's blocking you, the solution, some advice, and then the outcome. And then we are going to clarify and go deeper into the tarot using the Stardust deck with the Galactic Heritage cards. So, and I read from the guidebook because I don't know these cards yet. There's about 108 of them, and they are absolutely, they're dense, they're beautiful, they're wonderful. The messages are amazing. So I have this, oh, it's face down. I've been doing this where if it comes out face down, I'm just going to do it. Current situation. There's 2. All right, I'm going to take the top. Current situation. The ideal. The block was hiding under the ideal. Okay. The solution. The advice. And the outcome. All right, on the deck, and that which you might not see. Ooh, the Emperor. Something tells me there's something. Something tells me that. Okay, I'm not going to speak on astrology because I really don't know. But is Saturn moving into Aries soon? I don't know. I'll look it up and leave a little note in editing when I edit this. So, but the Emperor. Yeah, that's what you might not see. The Emperor. I'm loving this. I've been picking this up a lot. The sovereignty. Okay. So, current situation. Ooh, a new path to the Ace of Wands? Okay. Oh, I'm loving this. I'm getting tingles just from the tarot, which, I mean, it happens. So, clarify the Ace of Wands for the sweet souls watching. Okay, balanced relationships. PLEIADES. Balanced relationships. Number 88 could mean something too. Actually, I am just going to pull from the deck, from the top of the deck, as I always do. And also clarifying the Ace of Wands. We've had this before. Being the mentors, and it's 77. Earth. Okay, let's read these. Balanced relationships. PLEIADES. The challenges in human relationships happen from expectation. We expect our partners to become who we want them to be, rather than allowing them to be who they are naturally. This card suggests that it is time to take an honest look at relationships in your life and your expectations. Can you be 100% as a friend, a family member, or a partner without expectations? Or, if expectation is placed on you, can you ignore that pressure and be your natural self anyways? This card points to a karmic pattern ready to be released, and this future Palladian energy can assist you. This card is connected to an evolved time stream of the Palladian civilization in which interpersonal relationships are fully balanced. On Earth, humans use relationships as their classroom in which they learn their toughest lessons. Relationships are also used in a way to balance karma. But this means that relationships on Earth often contain a lot of pain and suffering. This is mostly because humans don't feel complete. They have expectations that their spouse, family member, or friend will fulfill a need that they are not fulfilling for themselves. Ooh, isn't that the truth? In a new paradigm, that type of relationship cannot sustain itself because the human is acting from a place of need or lack rather than wholeness or joy. Evaluate the relationships in your life. Are they fully balanced in joy, or are they based in need, loneliness, low self-worth, or any other issue that needs to be addressed within yourself before you can truly have a healthy relationship? It is time for serious self-evaluation. Look at the other cards for any further clues about this. Conversely, it is also possible that you have been doing deep inner work regarding relationships and what you need to see within yourself. And this card is acknowledging a positive shift in the relationships in your life. This card requires you to be very honest in your self-evaluation. If you see things that need to change, don't feel badly about it, but be grateful for the self-awareness that will help you make these changes. This is what the Ace of Wands is about, taking a brand new path. Self-reflection is really difficult. It's difficult to look in the mirror and admit that you're falling into victim mode or into neediness, or you are not the people around you. You are the draining source, right? That's why people don't want to be around you, right? In these cases, as this card just described. So it's finding balance within yourself first, as the card states, before you can really have a truly balanced relationship with other people. 77 and 88 could mean something to you as well. So 77, it's an earth card, and it's being the mentor. Since ancient times, our planet has had non-human mentors who have helped us through our evolutionary challenges. Eventually, humankind will be mentors for other, less evolved species we will encounter in the universe. But even now, we have the responsibility to spiritually mentor those on Earth who ask for our help without forcing it. You may be called on to do this in this life because you've done it in other lives and on other worlds. Trust in your ability to help others, even if you think you don't know how. Let your words and deeds come from your heart. That is all you need. Awakened species all know that the process of mentorship and appreciation and apprenticeship, I almost said appreciationship, apprenticeship, is a natural part of evolution. For millennia, evolved species have mentored less evolved species as a gesture of love, respect, and welcoming to the galactic community. Since the ancient days on Earth, evolved species mentored the early humans, and they still continue to do so, even though currently those mentorships are mostly done quietly. Humans, once awakened, will be called on to pass along this service to another less evolved species. If this card came up in your reading, it may have many meanings. It could be referring to a mentor who works with you now, either human or ET, and is a role model for you. It may also mean that you need to open to this type of mentorship, or it may mean that the universe is asking you to become a mentor for another person in your life. Look to the surrounding cards in your circumstances for further clarity. No matter what the meaning, know that the mentor-apprentice relationship is one of the most sacred in all of creation, and being asked to fulfill this role either as a mentor or as an apprentice is a blessing. Embrace this role with your full heart and notice how it enriches your life. So with these two cards coming out together with the Ace of Wands, this is really talking about looking at yourself first, then looking at the relationships, whether it be a friendship, a family member, or a loved one, a child, a romantic relationship, a spouse. and really see, do you fit into the apprentice or the mentor relationship? Within that relationship, balancing it out. It's very interesting. And they come out together. So the ideal, temperance. And temperance is clarified by paradox, the ZETA, galactic community, and again, we all have future so far. Interesting. Paradox and change, Andromeda. That's funny because as I was pre-shuffling, that flipped over and I thought, oh, I haven't seen Andromeda yet in these reads. Now this is only the third read that I have done and posted. But that particular card, the Andromeda change, I even remember looking at the image closely and taking a look at the clock in the chest. Like that's very interesting that it comes out. All right. Paradox. Clarify the temperance, which is about balance, which we just went through with the current situation. Patience, balance. That's very, as far as the tarot, that's very, very interesting. I love this combination. I do. I love these cards. Paradox. The Zetas pass through an essential transformation paradigm on their way to enlightenment. It has to do with an alchemical shift from a state of polarity to the paradox of containing both poles simultaneously in total balance with no preference for either. That's interesting. Right underneath that balance relationships card. Again, finding balance and clarifying the balance of temperance. Spiritually, they learn to be both full, containing the universe in all its forms, and empty, containing nothing but conscious awareness. Okay, that brings me to the nothing, the cups cards in my vintage robot deck. Wow. Living this paradox is a point of power and is the key for spiritual transformation. You contain this paradox as well. Learn to learn to tap into it to accelerate your evolution. Let the Zetas guide you. This card refers to the Zeta era in which their species became enlightened. The theme of this card may be the most difficult one in the deck to understand, because the mind is used to processing its views of reality through polarity, choosing one or the other. A paradox is a seemingly true statement or group of statements that leads to a contradiction or situation that seems to defy logic or intuition. The mind cannot grasp that two opposing forces can sometimes coexist harmoniously. Very often, when people discover a paradox on their spiritual journey, they believe that it is because they have somehow failed in their work. The opposite is true. It means we are closer to the truth because truth cannot exist without a polarized perspective. As we teach ourselves to go beyond this or that, a whole new reality opens. If this card came up in your reading, it points to a shift in your perspectives that is on the horizon or happening now. This shift can take you closer to unlocking limited beliefs and perspectives that keep you stuck. If you encounter a paradox in your life, resist the temptation to make a choice of this or that. Let the two ideas both be present without choosing one or the other. Let yourself feel what that does within your consciousness. This was one of the key exercises that helped to free the Zeta species and facilitate their enlightenment. And it will be a key in human transcendence as well. Wow. And it's clarifying transcendence with the Temperance card. Now I see the Temperance card as being polar opposites and finding either something or nothing in between. Just light. Wow. Okay. This is the ideal. Then we go to change, the Andromeda, parallel. In physical reality, change is the only constant. We spend so much time and energy trying to keep things the same that we miss the profound experience that change brings. Andromedans live in a very unusual reality paradigm, that of constant change. The change is so dramatic that the only way to orient yourself in reality is to have a strong inner compass. Oh, I said a clock. That's an inner compass. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Okay, sorry. The change is so dramatic that the only way to orient yourself in reality is to have a strong inner compass based on consciousness. You have pulled this card because either you have a strong connection with Andromedans, you love change, or you need to connect with Andromedan energy to let go of the fear of change. This is your next lesson. It may seem, and the change might be the paradox. The change might be to see polarity, how in this human existence, this 3D world, it programs us to see things as this or that, as the card said, and live constantly in polarity where we're constantly making choices. The paradox is seeing that there is no choice. It just is. And that's the change that you might be going through, sweet souls, that the earth might be going through. And then as the program, the powers that be, however you want to label it, keep pushing for polarity, keep pushing for the good, the bad, the him, the her, the us and them. I think with more pressure, people are going to just be. This is very interesting to me. The energies are changing. Okay, back to change. It may seem odd that the energy of a galaxy outside of ours is being utilized in this deck. The reason for this is that you can see yourself more clearly when there is a contrasting idea that can serve as a comparison. Is that what the polarity is? Okay, but then to see it as a contrasting idea that can serve as a comparison. The energy of the Andromeda galaxy provides this contrast to help us see ourselves more clearly. Within the template for experience in our reality lies the issue of polarity. Yes, which is what that paradox card is about. This is a prime theme we must explore on our way back to wholeness. In addition, we have a tendency to like things to stay the same so that we can feel safe and secure. This part of our nature is based on an ego need, and until we transcend that need, we will always stay stuck. Living in an Andromedan reality requires us to create an anchor to reality in our own consciousness rather than in the outside world. This is an important concept that actually has to do with how humans will eventually master space travel. It is always profoundly connected to spiritual awakening. Thus, Andromedans act as masters and guides for our evolution, teaching us to move from polarity and the fear of change into integration and the embracing of the changing nature of reality. If this card appears in your spread, look closely at your relationship to change. Are you addicted to it or do you fear it? Perhaps it is time to forge a new relationship with one of the only constants of life, change. That could take us back to balanced relationships, a balanced relationship with change, and a new path with that Ace of Wands. And that's the ideal with the Temperance card, to see the paradox that the Zetas had to go through with their evolution. I almost want to say see through the illusion of polarity and step into the change of the universe, which is constant change. Not to be afraid of it and not to get addicted to it. They did mention both extremes. Okay, so the block, Seven of Wands. This does feel very defensive. clarified by light of awareness, Orion light. I find this interesting because in that image there is where I thought it was a clock, but it's a compass, and there is like a hole in the same spot. So I find that very interesting. I'm going to put this here, light of awareness. And I haven't seen Atlantean era, Earth of the past. Interesting. Now I see this, that the Atlanteans are here. I'm going to put that in the past position. And are we defending the past? We'll see. And again, because of this image here, I'm going to put this here in the future. Yeah, we have to learn from our past to move into the future. I see a lot of future cards thus far, sweet souls. So I'm going to read that Atlantean one first, even though it came out second. I'm going to read that one first. This era, the Atlantean era, spanning approximately the last 13,000 years, represents the masculine principle in a planetary cycle. This cycle is often represented by polarity, war, ignorance, and confusion about spiritual identity. It is a time of darkness and sleep. Humanity is moving out of this cycle now, and we are seeing old ways crumbling. Do not be discouraged by what you see around you. Consider it a sign that humanity is awakening again. You have had many significant lives in this era and are releasing karmic patterns that you've held for a very long time. Continue your spiritual work. Free yourself. And it's clarifying the Seven of Wands. Very interesting. Many have called Atlantis a continent, but we refer to it in this deck as an era, especially an era of Earth's past that took place within the past 13,000 years. The Atlantean era was one of high polarity, mentality, and a movement away from the connection with spirit and with nature. Many may see the Atlantean era as one of the great scientific advancements, but its qualities were more reflective of the emphasis on one polarity, the masculine, more than the other, the feminine. During this Atlantean era, the Orion energy brought to Earth is being healed, but sometimes this takes the form of tremendous conflict. Earth is currently at a very important point in its development. The time when the Orion drama is healing and an integration of polarities is occurring. If this card comes up in your reading, it could mean many things. It may refer to specific lives you've lived in the Atlantean era in which polarity was a theme, but it could also have a more personal meaning. It may also refer to the integration of your inner polarities. This card asks you to examine your own life and beliefs. Do you feel more comfortable with one polarity more than the other? Ultimately, our spiritual evolution depends on our ability to integrate these internal polarities as a first priority. Only then do we see the external polarities healing as a result. Look at the other cards to add dimension to how this card fits into the whole message of your reading. Well, it's right below the paradox, which speaks of polarities. It's right above the balanced relationships, which is balancing out polarities. So this is the theme, sweet souls, today. Wow, this is really exciting. Really exciting. It's just becoming aware. With awareness comes change. My grandmother used to say that. With awareness comes change. And we are going through changes, but we really don't know how, why, what this means. And I love these cards because it's giving me an idea of what this means, right? So, Orion light. Our true state of being is as a unified, abiding awareness. This awareness contains no judgment, labeling, commentary, or opinion. When we do deep meditation, we can access this state, first for brief moments, then for longer periods of time. The consciousness of the Orion light represents this abiding awareness within us that transcends polarity. You may visualize this as a candle flame during your meditation. Work with this exercise to reconnect with your true state of being. As each person does this, the old wounds from Orion are healed and humanity can awaken. Wow. My grandmother used to also say, when you heal hurt, it becomes wisdom. And it says here, as each person does this, the old wounds from Orion are healed and humanity can awaken. Yes, indeed. Awaken to their own inner wisdom. Awaken to the illusion of polarity, which we've been living in, obviously, for thousands of years. This is not going to be an overnight thing. Wow. Okay. The last 4 cards of the deck access the energy called the Orion light, which connects with a very evolved era in Orion history, but represents so much more. They reference the complete healing and integration of not only the polarity within the Orion system that has affected us all, but the polarity that played out within the holographic matrix of creation itself. These cards represent the end game, so to speak, the return to the source and our natural state of being as one unified, abiding consciousness. Once awakened, the illusion of polarity can no longer exist. Eventually, all of us on earth will have to accept that awakening, or salvation comes not from anyone or anything outside of us, but through our own efforts to awaken ourselves. If this card appears in your reading, it is a powerful symbol that the Orion light, the light of the awareness of creation, is strongly working with you for your own awakening. You may or may not feel it overtly. If you need assistance to tap into it, imagine a golden liquid light, kind of like what's in the Temperance card. If you need assistance to tap into it, imagine a golden liquid light and know that all aspects of creation, even the unpleasant ones, are made from this liquid light. Let this liquid light help you feel the unity that is your true nature, and know that this liquid light resides in you too. Use the candle flame, as mentioned above, to access this awareness as often as you can. Clarifying the 7 of Wands, some of you might be defending this light. You're aware of it, you know you're a part of it, and with all of the negativity that you might be feeling, experiencing, that's the polarity. So while the 7 of Wands speaks of defending one's self, sovereignty, one's ideas, one's family, job, whatever you are defending, this light awareness card of the Orion light speaks of seeing the polarity, seeing through the matrix. It's within the matrix of our holographic existence in this world right now. This is what's blocking you. What's blocking you is definitely polarity. So, the solution, the 5 of Cups, clarified by self-discipline, VEGA. And unfinished business. We both have 2 present cards. This is SIRIUS. Unfinished business. Self-discipline. The profound nature of vegan mysticism came from their intense self-discipline. As an example, you see this now in martial arts or meditation practices. Spiritual skill does not develop without this self-discipline and devoted practice. Karmically, many humans now either resist discipline or crave it because of their ancient experiences. What is your pattern? Know that self-discipline is a vital part of spiritual growth, but too much of it can create rigidity. It is important to find the middle ground and use discipline as a tool to further your growth without becoming a hindrance. If you receive this card in your reading, you must look at your life situation and the other cards to truly see the perspective the cards are showing you. Do you need more self-discipline in life, in spiritual development, or do you need less? Do you resist the concept of self-discipline, or do you use it to punish yourself? Examine all of these factors and more will help you see how the message of this card can be applied in your life. When it's clarifying the Five of Cups, I see this self-discipline card as being self-discipline about your emotions, because the Five of Cups is that of loss, of emotional disappointment. The card is kind of known in the tarot as crying over spilt milk, over nothing, over change. All of these cards talk about change. And when it's clarifying the Five of Cups, it's controlling your emotions, seeing that change is inevitable, that if you've lost something, someone, a job, whatever the case may be, it is for your greater good. It's because there's something better for you, and change is what you need. So find the self-discipline within to really take a look at your emotions and to move forward. And then that brings us to unfinished business. The ancient Syrians believed that they left some things unfinished. Mostly, this has to do with the evolution of the human race. Many of these ancient beings have incarnated as humans now in order to complete the tasks they were left undone. Other Sirius beings are helping from the unseen realms. If you feel that you have unfinished business in your life or a nagging feeling that you are supposed to do something, pay attention to what that is teaching about your self-acceptance. The lesson is that you are complete in every moment. If you are supposed to do something, then it would be done. This card refers to a specific era of the Syrian civilization when they were working with the human species for the purpose of genetic enhancement and spiritual evolution. Galactic civilizations often have to think long-term, and many of their projects took millennia to complete or are still being completed now in this time of transformation. Many humans on Earth were incarnated as these Sirius beings back in the ancient times, and they still carry this feeling of having unfinished business, a nagging feeling that there is something that needs completion. If this card came up in your reading, it may be referring to unfinished business from the ancient Sirius projects, or it might be a feeling of unfinished business from other lives, or even this life. Look to the surrounding cards for clues, but also really examine your life honestly. Is there something in this life that needs completion? If so, free up your energy by working towards that completion. If the sense of unfinished business is more subtle, go deep within for answers. No matter what happens, know that when you follow the flow of life and meet all challenges with integrity instead of running from them, any unfinished business has a tendency to resolve itself easily. It is only when there is resistance that we postpone the inevitable. Keep that in mind as you navigate this human life. When it comes to the Five of Cups and is clarifying, you could have unfinished business with loved ones that you feel are unfinished. But if you have moved through with integrity, as the card says, it will finish itself. So the advice is the Empress. Now we have the Emperor and Empress, clarified by Alienness, non-humanoid. I haven't seen this one. Parallel. right beside that Andromeda parallel card. Interesting. And long-term goals. SIRIUS. Alienness. Non-humanoid. The energy of this card refers to the sense of alienness that many humans have that keeps them from feeling connected to life on planet Earth. Many feel strange in their own skin, as if they came from somewhere else. You may indeed have a connection to non-human beings in the universe. But because you are human in this life, this card asks you to begin embracing your uniqueness and celebrate it rather than fear it or be ashamed of it. If you need help, ask some loving, non-human beings to assist you during meditation. Feel their alienness and open your heart to them. You and they are one. This is one of the deck's few archetypal cards that does not necessarily point to a specific species, but rather a state of consciousness that is affecting you now. In terms of our galactic family, it may symbolize a connection to any number of non-human races with whom you have connections. You may already know who they are. If you don't, it is so important that you do. There are a myriad of non-human species in creation. The main idea is to examine any feelings of alienness that you may have, if not belonging or of being different. Is there someone in your life who seems alien or different and you are having trouble embracing him or her? How can you engage yourself more in life on Earth? How can you integrate feelings of being different with being part of a global or galactic community? Ultimately, our journey is about integration, and that means embracing all of our parts, even those that seem alien to us. It's clarifying the Empress. I find that when it's clarifying the Empress, this alienness, if you are receiving messages through dreams, even thoughts, I would say start receiving these and start doing research. That which you might not see as the Emperor. So this is taking action on these feelings. That's not to say to feel shame or to feel that being different or unique in any way is something to feel bad about. It just is. I would do research. I would dive deep into dream journaling. Start journaling. If you do practice meditation, what is it within meditation that you discover about yourself? This is really about connecting the different parts of yourself back into wholeness. They have fragmented us for a reason, so that we do not feel a connection to the divine, to source, to God. They've done this for a reason. I don't know the reason. I'm just discovering it myself. So let's take a look at long-term goals. Long-term goals. The long-term goals of the Sirians lasted for generations and spanned thousands of Earth years. This required extreme focus, discipline, and dedication. That's what that self-discipline card is about. Yeah. Many people who had Sirian lifetimes still retain this ability to focus and carry out long-term projects. Use this pattern as a skill that can benefit you greatly in this life, especially in regards to your spiritual development. If you have difficulty completing long-term goals, then seek out ways to move beyond this resistance. An ability to be focused and disciplined in spiritual growth is essential. Let your Sirian forefathers guide you. This card refers to long-term goals of the Sirians who assisted Earth in the ancient days and their ability to see far into the future as to what a new planet, Earth, would need in its development. Many of their selfless goals to help the evolution of Earth have been carried for millennia. Galactic species must have this long-range vision in order to perpetuate life, nurture it. Ooh, there's that Empress energy. Nurture it and to ensure its survival through the challenging periods of its evolution. It could also mean that you have the skill of long-range vision, being able to see a project through its fruition over a long term. Conversely, if this is not a skill that you are aware of within yourself, this card may be challenging you to begin to develop the skill as a means to discipline yourself, focus, and to complete the goals you have for this life. Look at the surrounding cards for further clues. And when it comes to the Empress is about birth and creation, expansion, interesting. Last card, and the outcome, strength. And this strength card always looks like, it now in this spread looks like galactic communication, especially with this alienness card. Non-human communication, clarified by imbalance in positive polarity. I think we got this last week. And that is only focusing in on the positive and the negativity building up within, and rejecting emotion, rejecting it. That could be speaking of rejecting the negative. Okay. I'm going to put this, I'm going to put this here. Let's take a look at that rejecting emotion, because it really feels like it needs to go underneath alienness. Rejecting emotion. Humans have a tendency to avoid pain. Yes, and that's what this imbalance in positivity polarity speaks of. They have a tendency to avoid pain at all costs. However, our emotions are an important function of being human. If we make choices to avoid emotional pain, we end up rejecting all emotions, including the positive ones. This happened to the Zetas. Life then became dull, and we feel disconnected from those around us and the universe. Let yourself embrace all emotions, positive and negative. And it's funny that this card speaks of positive and negative, which is polarity. And so it's embracing both. Okay, so that brings me back up to the paradox. And again, the Zeta. So the Zeta of the past had to embrace all emotions to get to the paradox. Okay, I see that. And balance. Clarifying the Temperance card, having the strength to go through it. Okay. Let yourself embrace all emotion, positive and negative, as being a valid part of being human. Let emotions teach you the lessons you need to learn and enrich your life. Zetas learned this lesson too. They then had to relearn emotions from humans. Interesting. If you have pulled this card and are not familiar with the Zeta species, look at the information in the 30, like the card before, in the card 30. This card refers to a specific aspect of their challenges in this past era. The early Zeta species, originally a VEGA colony, felt that focusing only on mental development was the way to evolve. They submerged their emotions and intuition so profoundly that they lost touch with the vital part of themselves. The society became extremely imbalanced because of this, and the Zetas lost touch with their connection to the universe and themselves. There is a danger on Earth in the present day that humans will take a similar path. If this card comes up in your reading, take a look at the other cards as well as your life circumstances. Do you have a habit of rejecting your emotions and pushing them deep inside? This habit will always result in those submerged emotions spilling out, which is the imbalance in positivity polarity card, which we'll get to next. This habit will always result in those submerged emotions spilling out, whether through health issues or further emotional challenges. Take a good look at your emotional patterns and see if this is a habit in your life. If so, seek to change it and befriend your emotions. The Zetas eventually had to seek help from humans to learn about emotion and begin to reintroduce it in their life. And that then brings us to imbalance. In the ancient Palladian history, one of the core lessons of the species had to do with denying the shadow side within. They only wanted to focus on the positive and habitually suppress their dark aspects. It is important to recognize and embrace all aspects, dark and light. Try to see where you suppress the darkness inside, such as emotions or pain that you don't want to feel. See it, love it, and dialogue with it. In doing so, you will heal many old habits and patterns from lifetimes past on Earth and in the stars. In this card represents one of the core lessons of the Pleiadian people when they were a young species. They had a tendency to push away negative emotions and only acknowledge the positive in life. These unprocessed emotions festered on a collective level, and after millennia, this submerged energy had to be released. This unconscious negative energy created an immune system disease that ravished the Pleiadian people. No one could find a cure. It wasn't until they sought help from the shamans of their society that they fully understood what was happening. After much inner searching, the shamans realized that the suppressed negative energy on a collective level was creating this immune disease. I read that and think of autoimmune diseases that we have here on Earth. Humans are genetically most connected to the Pleiadian people, and we have a tendency to do the same thing, to push away our unpleasant emotions and the dark aspects of our psyche. Many of the diseases we face today are because of this repressed emotion. If this card came up in your reading, you most likely had experiences in the Pleiadian system during this era in which this issue of repressed emotion was happening. It is also a message to continue to stay connected to the emotions you are feeling and never push them away. You can write about them or face and embrace them in meditation. If you make a commitment to this process, you will live a happier and healthier life, and that brings it back up to self-discipline. Being aware, if you do deny or push away negative feelings, have the self-discipline to take a look at them. Have the strength to take a look at them and not reject any emotions, or else you run the risk of rejecting all emotions. Okay, bottom of the deck. And clarifying the Emperor, that which you might not see, progressive desires. Earth. Okay, last card, and that which you might not see, clarifying the Emperor, is progressive desires. During a time of transformation, it is common to feel a great excitement and a desire to make sweeping changes very quickly. However, because there are many people who fear change, it is prudent to make change that is slow and steady instead of rushing things. In this way, those who cling to the old will not get spooked and obstruct the natural progress of transformation. Take an honest look at your life and see where you are either moving too fast or resisting change. Seek the middle road. As you do this, you assist the earth to transform itself with grace and ease. That could be taking a look at polarity. The first half of the read was about polarity. A lot of cards talking about polarity, about the paradox that we live in, about balance. With the Temperance card, the balanced relationships, imbalance, and balancing out our inner and outer lives, going within. So the progressive desires, this card is energetically the opposite of card 51, which is, and I'm just reading it because it's right next to this card, is conservative attachments. Okay. This card can refer to the desire to change that compels action prematurely. Change is a constant and we can never escape it, but we have to be wise when we implement it. If this card came up in your reading, it may be asking you to look at the impulsive actions you have taken based on premature desires for change. Conversely, it may be asking you to take a chance with change and growth, even when you feel frightened. That's that change, the Andromeda card. And when changes are going on around you, to find your inner compass. Again, it's know thyself. Given the energy on Earth now, during this transformational time, change will happen rapidly and profoundly, no matter how afraid we are. This is the nature of the energy at this time. It would be wise to begin to feel comfortable with the unknown and with new directions. That's that Ace of Wands that may arise, so that when growth becomes necessary for you, you can navigate it with grace and ease. This read is about embracing change, not being afraid of change. This read is about taking a look at the matrix, at the holographic world we live in of polarity. And in order to see all that is, and we have to put together the pieces of our fragmented, I'm just going to say fragmented souls. What we might not see is that change is upon us. We are going through it. We see it in our homes. We see it in our communities. We see it in our governments. We see it on a world stage, on a global stage. We see it in the internet. We see it. And with the rise of AI, I think we have to be aware that these spiritual and technological changes, I think, are happening in tandem. And it is to know who you are. It is to discover yourself that is going to balance out. I have the Emperor and Empress. I have the Temperance card. I have a new path with the Ace of Wands and the strength to go through these changes. That's what I see. I love these reads, sweet souls. Please leave in the comments below your thoughts about these galactic reads. And that's what I see for you, sweet souls. And I'm sure I'll see you again. Take care from your forest fairy. Bye for now.